Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Linda Beard, your host and author of the upcoming book, Bold Enough. We are entering into our part 2 series with Bilal Akram, who is the owner and founder of Code Media Group. Last week, he shared with us about having not only the passion, but purpose. When God gives you a purpose, follow that purpose, have faith of a mustard seed to do that. And thirdly, you got to love people. You never know when those individuals can be a springing board as you continue the direction of your business. So Bilal, welcome back to Bold Enough. And let's just pick up where you are now on this journey of Code Media Group. And you've shared with the audience some of the story about, wow, what am I going to do in my transition after I retire? I didn't know anything about magazines, anything about media, but I'm moving forward anyway because I feel like it's my God-given purpose for this transition and this season in my life. So I'm going to turn it back over to you and talk a little bit more about your story.
Okay, thanks again for having me on part 2.
You're welcome.
So just to dive right into it, I started doing research on well, first of all, no, let me back. I did a vision board, reading something about doing a vision board, and so I created a vision board. I mean, I just took a piece of tag board that, turned the other side, it was clear, and I just started writing. I had a ruler and some markers. I just started writing, and I realized when I looked, I'm not gonna say I went into a trance, but I was just so focused on listening to the Lord, what He wants me to write. So when I finished writing my vision board, I was like, Lord, I can't do this. And He says, I know you
Wow.
can.
You know what? You just gave me confirmation because just a few days ago, I was in actually the same spot with Bold Enough, the company that I now operate and own and founded. I started doing a vision board because the vision that I was getting broader and broader and broader. And so as me too, God-given purpose, I'm writing it down and writing it down. It seemed like I couldn't write it down fast enough because everything was coming. So thank you for that confirmation, because that's a personal nugget that I'm taking away from the show today.
Absolutely. You're welcome. And I encourage all of your listeners, if you have an idea, start a vision board. And there's no right or wrong way to do a vision board. It's whatever your vision is. Everyone gives us a vision. Everyone has gifts and talents. So utilize the gifts and talents, tap into the gifts and talents that the Lord has given you, speaking to your listeners. So once I did the vision board, then I started doing research on magazines, publishing. And it was a perfect storm for me because A, I was retiring, and B, there was the transitioning in media from print to digital. So if you see anyone reading a hard copy newspaper, a magazine or newspaper, they're normally over 50, usually 55 and older. Everyone below those ages are getting their information electronically.
Right.
So not only was the industry going that way, but advertising was going digital. So the perfect storm of me retiring, print is dying, going digital, and advertising is going digital. And technology is the great equalizer. It doesn't care what color you are, what religion, what nationality, what you do.
Yes.
If you understand technology, you can succeed. So I started seeking out people who I knew understood technology. I came across a brother, Anthony Jones, who owns a company called Digital Jetstream. It's an African-American owned tech company. Had a meeting with him, shared my idea. He said, B, I got you. I'm going to help you. Then I had another mentor, Alexandria Johnson Boone, very good friend and mentor, probably one of the most powerful sisters in the state. And she published a magazine. So I was riding with her one day, and I said, Alex, I have an idea for a magazine for men of color. She says, B, do it. I'll help you. And that's how I started. That's how I started.
That's amazing. So here you are, not having the technology experience, not having an immediate experience, but you were able to be bold enough, I guess, to ask people to help, for help. And
Mm-hmm.
so, listeners, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Correct. Correct. And the next nugget I want to share is be extremely careful who you share your vision with.
Ah, good point. Yes.
Because I mentioned to some people, and the first thing they said, "Well, what do you know about you were a firefighter? How do what you want to do? What? Oh, that's stupid. That's
Mm,
dumb." So I've learned to, my circle has gotten very
very
small.
small. And we have talked about that on a Bold Enough podcast,
Mm-hmm.
is knowing who that circle is and
Correct.
being able to test them.
Being able to
Test
test
them to
them. Yes,
see if they really, really have your best interest in mind, because that
absolutely.
is so crucial who you tell your business to. And also positivity. We've talked
Absolutely.
about already surrounding yourself with positivity. And it sounds like, well, we don't want naysayers.
Correct.
We don't
No,
want
no,
naysayers,
no, no.
right?
And I try to feel people's energy. When you're around people, let's feel. Pay attention to how you feel when you're around someone. If that person gives you good vibe, good energy, that's a good person. If you start to feel
Yes.
like, I need to watch what I say. I need to, watch what I do. Then that's a person you don't really need in your life at this point,
Hmm.
because
Okay.
it takes everything within you to be able to start something, to create something, and to sustain something. So, um,
Yeah.
when I
So,
started, like I said, it's been many people that jump off and on this ride, Linda. I've had so many people say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. They get on, nothing happens, and they get off.
nothing happens.
I said, you know what?
Yes.
And I'm not mad, because
Yes.
I'm like, you know what? Obviously, you weren't the person that God had
Yes.
prepared for me. So I'm gonna keep
Or
moving
it
on
was just for a season, or it was just
for a
for that
season.
short
For a
season for
season.
you to
Yes.
learn a couple of things.
Yes.
So, on this journey, as people were coming and going, as you were growing Code Media Group, what sacrifices did you face personally to get this off the ground?
Oh, you mean sacrifices I'm still facing? Well, a lot of your
Yes.
capital, like you said, maxed out credit cards, delayed vacations, delayed gratification. Um, the business demands time and it demands money. So at some
Yes.
point, I'm peeling my account off because there was no
Right.
revenues coming in, but I still
Right.
had expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it got really dark around September of 2019. And I told my wife, I said, because we started out publishing quarterly, because
Okay.
I didn't know the business. I just thought quarterly was the best way to at least get our name out there, start trying to figure this
Yes.
out. I had an
Yes.
editor that I brought on, and
Mm-hmm.
older gentleman, didn't understand technology, and he didn't really understand my vision. He just wanted the money. He did help. He was a great
Yes.
writer, but he wasn't
Yes.
the person to take me to the next level. So
Mm-hmm.
around September of 2019, I was getting very discouraged. I'm like, told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm tired. This is hard. I'm not making any money. But the product was still coming out. We were still getting, some feedback, positive feedback.
Yeah.
But she said, you know what? She said, you can't quit. She said, you can't, you come too far to
Ah,
stop, you know?
wow. That's
So
wonderful.
she really encouraged me. And about 5 to 6 months later, my editor then told me, he says, I met a guy and I told him about the magazine. He wants to talk to you. So I'm like, I'll talk to anybody, At this
Sure.
point, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I can use this terminology, but
Mm-hmm.
my dad always he says, son, if you throw enough shit on the wall, something got to stick. So,
Something's got to stick.
at that point, I'm slinging.
You're
Something got to
slinging.
stick.
Something's got to stick. I'm desperate here.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I met a gentleman. His name is Brad Bowling, and my editor set up a meeting. We met. Brad had looked at the magazine, and he said, "Look," he says, "I love what you're doing, but it can be better. And this is what's wrong with it. A, B, C, D." So he told me to my
Wow.
face what was wrong with the magazine. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my feelings was a little hurt internally. But
Yeah.
I respected him because he had the nerve to tell me to my face. He
And
could
that
have.
is so crucial for if you're going to go in business, be willing to accept positive criticism or feedback.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. You
and
have
and you
to.
got to get rid of the sensitivity, right? If you want
Correct.
it to really grow,
Hmm.
because you're now coming in contact with people that really, really know how to take you to the next level.
Absolutely. And you got to be open to it as well. So,
Very open to it.
and I mean, I received, so I have a rejection file on my emails that all the people that, no, 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 no. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to say yes one day. You're going to say yes one day. So fast, long story short, that gentleman,
Hmm.
Brad Bowling, we met again afterwards. He says, look, man, he says, I see your vision. I love what you're doing. I can take you to another level. And literally, he told me my vision before he even saw my vision board.
Wow. So if you could share with the listeners with the Code magazine, what was your vision for the magazine itself? What did you want it to do for individuals that picked up a copy of it?
Well, I'm gonna give one thing. One thing that encouraged me. I'm a reader, and I love reading
Okay.
about people who have created, Steve Jobs and people, Henry Ford, and people, John Johnson, people who created things
Hmm.
from nothing. Um, so I am a reader. So I read this book called The Jewish Phenomenon: The Seven Secrets of Success, and it
Okay.
literally transformed my life because I read it two or
Wow.
three times and I share it with people all the time. And it showed me how the Jewish community created and how they created all these businesses that Disney, Nike, the NBA, all these are owned by Jewish people.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I'm like, this is how they do it. And then with my international experience, how the Lord had opened my mind up. I'm like, wait a
Yes.
minute, I got to think big. So
Got to
when I was
think
doing my
broad.
vision,
Yes.
I got to think huge. So
Hmm.
so when I started, the Code Media Group is my parent company.
Okay.
So and then there are divisions under the Code Media Group. We have a Code M Foundation, which has its own LLC, has its own EIN number, and it had its own 501c3 certification. I
Okay.
just brought on an executive director for the foundation, so she will be directing and chairing our foundation division. Brad is the president of my company, and Brad runs the day-to-day operations. So we have the Code M Publishing division.
Okay.
We have the Code M Marketing division. We have the Code M. We have our own line of cigars, Code M Cigars. We're soon getting ready to
Wow.
do our own clothing line, and they're all
Wow.
separate entities under the parent company, the Code Media Group.
Wow.
We're looking at movie productions. That'll be a separate entity. We're looking
Hmm.
at a Code M Ambassador Club. We're looking at like doing retreats for men of color. We may start them domestically, but ultimately I want to take men of color to like Ghana and Belize and Costa Rica to do cleansing and healing so that when
Wow.
men come back, they feel energized, connected, and reinvigorated to continue on and follow their journeys.
Wow. That is some vision board.
And and
That
and and
is
literally
that is some vision board.
we are going to be a global brand. That's what the Lord gave
Yes.
me because it's
Wow.
digital. It's digital.
Yes. It's digital. Anybody
Right.
can access. So
Right.
that is phenomenal. So if you had three things that you would tell a listener, like your top three things to do or consider if they were going to go into business for themselves, what would it be?
The first one is invest in yourself, whether that's education, whether it's learning a trade, whether it's investing your money in yourself. Investing in yourself is the first thing. Secondly,
Mm-hmm.
surround yourself with people who keep you accountable. You know
That's a good one.
that when you tell someone, okay, I'm going to do something September of this year. Well, then you can hold me accountable. Hey, Bilal, did you
Yes.
achieve your goal, or if you see me going the wrong way,
Mm-hmm.
Bilal, I think you should be going left instead of right, and I
Okay.
have to trust you enough that you're telling me right for me and for what I'm doing. And lastly is don't ever give up.
Wow. Yes. Don't ever give up. Well, listeners, we are out of time, but Bilal, thank you so much for coming on to Bold Enough in this series of Bold Enough Moves. I am sure, listeners, you have a lot to think about now as you are going through 2023. We're still just beginning that second month of the year, so it's never too late to get your vision board, to begin to work on where you want to go and be able to work in your passion that you want to do. And as God leads you in a particular direction, follow, because you will see your vision blossom. As Bilal has shared with us today, some of those entities are already in place with Code Media Group. Others are going to be coming very, very soon. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. And remember, you've got to start out by being bold enough to love yourself first.
Amen.
Love yourself first. So therefore, you set those boundaries around you, have the correct circle of people around you so that you can move forward and not look back. And as I share with you every single week, you have to be bold enough to heal from your past so that your past does not hijack your future. Are you bold enough to make a bold enough move? That's all for this week. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Be bold enough.